Hey, I'm Chris with Everide Productions, and today we're going to show you how to make this camera setup. Okay, so today we're talking about camera setups. In this case, it's my Sony FDR X3000. So this is an idea that I stole from Tyler over at Everide. Be sure to check out his YouTube channel, which I've linked below. And so this is a pretty cool setup. It's very inexpensive to make, and it's incredibly customizable and allows you to do a number of things. So in my case, I've got the camera mounted, and then I actually have my Patron mounted as well. But if I want to, I can pull the camera out and just put the Patron back on the helmet, and I can run without this camera mount. Now, the reason I've done this is I just feel like this gets me a little bit better positioning than I was able to do with the GoPro mounts. So what I've done here is I brought the camera as close to the helmet as possible and then forward so that it is essentially flush with the front of the helmet. Because what you don't want is you don't really want any part of the helmet to show in front of or in the camera footage from the Sony. So the way that the Sony does its optical stabilization, if you have the helmet in the picture, what will happen is you'll end up with this beautiful, clear, and stable landscape. However, your helmet will look like it's kind of moving around. So you want to make sure your helmet is not in the footage of the Sony. So this works really well. This is actually very secure, and again, it allows me to customize. So I can pull my camera off and I can change the angle and everything else. And then this piece of aluminum that's here has actually been pre-bent to have the right kind of forward angle. And then it's also set up so that it's in line with my sight line. So let me show you basically how I actually made this. So if you want to do this type of mount, you can do it as well. Okay, so some of the tools you're going to need to do this job successfully are rubbing alcohol, a set of pliers or vice grips, a tape measure, a hacksaw, a marker, 3M dual lock. You're going to want a rubber mallet. You're going to want some aluminum stock. This is 1 inch by 1/8. Set of safety goggles, some snips or scissors, a square, and a grinder. Okay, so one of the first things we're going to do is actually cut this piece of aluminum stock to the length that we need. Now the length that I use is actually 7 inches. So we're going to go ahead and mark that off. And we're going to take our square and get a nice straight line. Okay, and now what we need to do is go ahead and cut this. Okay, so to cut this, we want to put it in the vise, and then we want to go ahead and use safety glasses. And then I'm actually going to use a Sawzall to make this process a little bit faster. Now we've got our 7-inch piece. Now what we want to do to make this a little bit easier so these aren't rough edges is I'm going to go ahead and put it in the vise, and I'm going to use the angle grinder to round these off. Again, make sure you've got safety glasses on. Okay, so now we've got this nicely rounded. I don't have any sharp edges. The next thing I want to do is go ahead and mark where I want to put my first bend. So I did 2 1/4 inches in. So we're going to go ahead and put it in the vise and then make our first bend. And you just want to get a little bit of a bend in it, nothing too crazy. And so basically now our camera will mount to this side, and this side will go against the helmet. Now, ideally you want to try and contour this to the helmet. So an easy way to do that is you can either sit here on the vise and try to round it out, or if you have a log handy, what you can do is actually beat this over the log to get that contour. So here we want to use a dead blow hammer just because it hits more surface area and it's a little bit softer since aluminum is pretty soft. So you can see that we're getting a little bit of contour. So what you want to do is just go ahead and work this over the log or the vise, depending on what you want to do, and make sure that you basically get the contour that will match your helmet. And so once you've got that contour down, we won't need the log or the anvil anymore. Okay, so basically what I want to do is check the contour that we've created against kind of the side of the helmet. And what we're looking for is to make sure that we don't have any large gaps, and basically want to keep working until you have that. Now the other thing that you'll notice is when you are against the helmet, if I get the right angle, you'll notice that this piece needs to be twisted a little bit. So if we had this attached and we attached the camera is actually twisted down a little bit. So we need to bend this piece so that the camera levels back out. So we want to bend that out. So we want to put the camera in a device, and then we want to take our set of pliers and put a twist, just a slight twist in the aluminum. So you can see now that there's a slight twist in the aluminum. And what that's going to do is, now, when the camera is mounted to the side of the helmet, now instead of the camera being pivoted down, it's going to level back out so that it's flush in terms of vertically. Okay, so once you've got all the contours the way you want it and that appropriate twist, now we're ready to basically attach this to the helmet. So what we want to do is go ahead and clean this off with some of that rubbing alcohol that we had. Now you're also going to want to go ahead and clean up your helmet as well so that this piece can stick. Okay, so next we're going to cut our dual lock to the appropriate length for the pieces that we need. So for the front where the camera attaches, we need a smaller piece. And then for the back side that's going to attach to the helmet, we need a little bit longer piece. Okay, so now we've got these two pieces. We are ready to attach these two. Now we have our piece, so we can go ahead and mount that to the helmet, and we can put a piece of Velcro on your Sony camera or GoPro or whatever else it is that you're using, and we can go ahead and attach that piece. Okay, so that wraps it up for today's video. Hope you found this video helpful. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe below, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in.